create the opportunity and the habit for you to listen to your own content. It doesn't make you arrogant. It doesn't make you weird. What you're doing is you're quite literally reviewing your performance. That's what you're doing. Podcast Growth Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Podcast Growth University, where we talk all things podcasting all the time. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode number 26, creating a most important list for 2023 and reflecting on 2022. How did it go? Would we consider ourselves successful, quote unquote? What would we do differently if we could? Today, for episode number 27, 3 things you should be doing every day. So it's interesting, as a podcaster, honestly, as anybody who is trying to get more information, one of the things we'll do is we'll Google how to blank. So it might say how to get more listens this year, or how to make more money, or how to get more clients. And what often happens is we get a deeper understanding, but we don't get a tactic. We don't get a tactic of this is what you should be doing every day. If you want to make more money, do this thing every single day, or do these 3 things every single day. And if you think of it from maybe just say a fitness standpoint, it's something you have to do every day, right? If you want to lose weight, you have to track your calories, go to the gym, drink enough water, get enough sleep, exercise, right? There's a lot of things you got to do. I think it's very similar when it comes to success, business, podcasting, whatever it is. What can you do every day? What are you doing every day? Are you doing the right things? Are you doing the wrong things? The habits that we practice day in and day out will determine where we end up in the next couple of years. So I just want to take you through some simple habits. And again, my goal is to make this as valuable as possible in the least amount of time possible. You're busy. You're a podcaster. You should be listening to your own podcast as much as you're listening to me. So I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity to do that. So the title is 3 things you should be doing every day. I'm actually going to give you 6 because I couldn't choose just 3, but I will go with the initial 3 to start, and then the 3 bonus ones. Okay. You would not believe me if I told you how many times I got on a call with somebody and I said, hey, how many podcast downloads do you have? And they, no idea. I'm not sure. I don't track them. I don't want to get obsessed with the numbers. Okay, what's your highest listened to episode? Oh, I have no idea. Okay. Do you believe knowing your listens would help you get more listens? I don't really want to obsess over it. I don't really want to focus on the numbers. Okay. Number 1, track your listens. If you are looking to be financially free, you're going to look at your bank account every day. If you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, or maintain weight, you're going to look at the scale every day. Your podcast tracking is the same. Track your listens every single day. So as of today, I want to practice what I preach. We have 712,807 listens. I track our listens every single day because, again, I want to know if there's a bump, why? Why is there a bump? We had 30,000 downloads in December on our podcast, Next Level University, because we were in the top 10 of the charts for self-improvement and education in Antigua and Barbuda, which is I don't know, I did some research, but it's a colony or a country off the coast of, I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere out there in the Caribbean, I believe. We're in the top 15 in education and self-improvement. We're on the top of the charts. Our listens have been higher. There's a great correlation there. Okay, how did we get on the top of the charts? Cool. Let me focus on that. If I wasn't tracking the listens every day, I would have no idea that we're on the top of the charts. The other thing too is I want us to make logical decisions far more than emotional ones. You might say, you know what? That guest episode really sucked. But then you look at the stats and it got, 20% more downloads or listens than your previous guest episode. Okay, why? Was it the title? Was it the guest? Did they share? It's very hard to make intelligent long-term decisions if we're not working with data. So number 1, if you could only do one thing, track your listens because it will raise your awareness and it will create new opportunities. I've been tracking our listens every day now for, I don't know, maybe the last 4 years, and it's been very, very, very beneficial. Number 2, this is one that I get so often. I will have a conversation with somebody and I will say, hey, who's your listener? Like if you had to go get a client right now, who are the listeners that you would reach out to? And a lot of people say, oh, I have no idea who my listeners are. I have an idea of my demographic, but I have no idea specifically who's listening. Okay, cool. Number 2, connect with a potential listener on social media every single day. What does that mean? Well, again, we don't really know who's listening to our podcast unless they self-identify. They come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I'm Kevin and I'm listening to your podcast. One way to speed that process up is to start conversations with people on your own accord. So this is why posting on social media is so important. I would probably put that on here. I mean, not everybody does, but at least posting on your social media, on your story post every day is super beneficial because it creates the opportunity to start a conversation. So this is a great practice. When I need to do this, which I try to do every single day, I will literally look at my story and it'll say 95 people watch your story. I'll go through and then I say, okay, does this person listen to the podcast? Yeah, I've actually talked to them in the past. Okay, cool. Let me send them a message and say, hey, Bob, I hope everything's well. I hope you had a great holiday. What's new? Boom. Conversation started. Now, again, my goal is not to get this person to work with me. It's not necessarily to get them to sign up for something. It's just to remind them that I'm still here. We're still doing the podcast and I'm here if they need me. It's just helping them remember me. We live in very, very busy worlds where our attention spans are very short. If you come out of the woodwork to them and add value to them by asking them how they're doing, they might come back into your ecosystem. They might come back into the podcast or the Facebook group or whatever it may be. So a lot of people, I think there's a misconception around social media. It's, well, you know what? I'm only going to post podcast content on my social media. And if people like it, they'll reach out or they'll listen to the podcast. Your social media is a great opportunity for you to go connect with people. Now, this is one of the pieces of resistance I get early on. Well, Kev, I don't know who to reach out to. You're 5-6 years in, you know who listens to the podcast. True. But at the beginning, I didn't. And I was still doing the same thing where I would just send a message to somebody watching my story and say, hey, I hope you had a great holiday. It's just a conversation starter. Somebody might say, thanks, you too, been loving the podcast. Boom. Going back to our previous episode, that person goes on a list and then you know that person is a listener. So number 2, connect with a potential listener on social media every single day. Number 3, and this is a very important one long-term. In the beginning, it can be a challenge, but I do think this would be beneficial for all of you. Number 3, send a message for a guest or for you to be a guest on a show. So if you think about it, say it takes 5 messages. So you have to send 5 messages in order to get a response for a guest. Theoretically, you might think to yourself, well, if I'm sending 365 messages a year, that's way too many. Well, there's 52 weeks in a year. If it takes 5 messages to get 1 response, you'll have enough guests for the year and you'll have some carryover into the next. If you want to be on 1 show a week, depending on what your conversion rate is, sending 1 message a day might actually end up getting you on 1 show a week. So the reason behind this is there's many different reasons, right? There's many different reasons. But if you think about it this way, when it comes to guests, you kind of have an A list, a B list, and a C list. A list guests are people that are big stretches, right? Most likely they're not going to come on anytime soon, but they're a good stretch guest. I'd love to be able to get to the point where I can have this person on. A B-level guest might be somebody who is accessible, but not going to happen this week, right? It's somebody who's booked out for a while. You can get them on, but it might take a month. A C-level guest is probably somebody who you can reach out to today and book for this week. So if you go through and you send a bunch of C-level messages, you'll have people in the short run. If you send B-level messages, maybe that'll take a month or 2 months for them to come on. And then the A-level messages are, well, it'd be really cool if this person said yes. But if you do it that way and you're sending a message every day, you can be a little bit more intentional about your messaging and you'll never get to the point, hopefully, where you don't have a guest. That's one of the reasons people aren't consistent, because they don't have a guest and they say, oh, I don't have a guest this week. I'll just jump on here next week. And you just lost the consistency.
Hi, my name's John Laurito, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to Kevin Palmieri. I had reached out to him. He had been referred to me when I had shared with a friend of mine some interest in doing a podcast. And he said, you've got to use Kevin. He's fantastic. He's the best around. He'll get you started and off the ground and soaring high in no time. And take it from somebody who knows nothing about podcasting other than maybe saying a few things. But as far as behind the scenes, the startup, everything, I knew nothing. Kevin was phenomenal in terms of leading me through the whole process, and not just easy to work with, but really, really knows his stuff. A great combination between leading me through all the stuff I had no idea what I was doing, but also really listening to me and understanding what it was I was trying to accomplish and what my vision is. So whether you're looking for somebody to help you and get you started, or somebody, as I've done, where I'm putting it entirely in his hands because I've got total trust and confidence in him, and he is a true pro and easy to work with, any of those ends of the spectrum, you're going to have a lot of success and a lot of fun working with Kevin. Trust me. Thanks.
So those are the big three I would start with. Track your listens, connect with a potential listener on social media, send a message for a guest or for you to be a guest on a show. Tracking listens is going to be very important for you. Even if the numbers are small, especially when the numbers are small, you could see what titles are working, what guests are working. It's very, very important. Now, these last three, I guess, the second three, are kind of extras and bonuses, depending on where you are in your podcast journey. Okay. Number one message to a potential client every single day. So as a podcast production company, which we have, Next Level Podcast Solutions, I go on a minimum of 10 shows a week. So on my system of success, on the habits that I track every single day, one of them is connect with one potential client. Every podcast I go on is technically a potential client because they might want us to help them. So I'm doing that every day. I'm doing that at least 10 times a week, which is very, very beneficial. For you, you might not know who your potential clients are yet, but that's why even going back to connecting with a potential listener is valuable. So even if you don't know who your potential clients are yet, that's okay. If you're having conversations with people, you're making progress, believe it or not. This fifth one is a very interesting one. So one of our friends, one of my buddies, his name is Eddie Pinero. He has a very successful YouTube channel called Your World Within, and he is one of the best speakers I have ever talked to. He is a world-class speaker. He has a habit that he practices every day that I don't know what he calls it, but he takes his phone, and I think he sets a timer for 5 minutes. He goes on a random word generator, and it just generates a word. So say hypothetically it's sidewalk. He hits the timer for 5 minutes, and then he goes off on that word for 5 minutes. So he'll just practice talking about a certain topic to practice his storytelling, to practice his hook, to make sure he's getting his point to land. I did this for a little while, and it was very, very interesting because it helps you think on the fly. So if it was sidewalk, you might say, well, sidewalk is something that you feel very safe on, but in reality, there's nothing stopping the car on the road from driving on the sidewalk. The sidewalk is a good example of life and what life could be, where you feel like you're safe all the time and you feel like you must stay on the path that you're on, but you can always get off at any time and try something new, right? Again, that's just me riffing on a word, riffing on a word, sidewalk. So the number 5 thing is what I would call a storytelling session. You can call it a word riff. You can call it whatever you want. Set your timer for a couple minutes, choose a random word, probably through a random word generator, and just go off on it. Practice your storytelling. That's going to be very, very helpful for you in the future, especially when you're guesting on shows. One of the reasons this show particularly is a little bit harder for me is because I'm not telling a lot of stories, and that's weird for me. Because when I guest on shows, I always tell my story and I try to connect every lesson with a story. With some of these, it's really hard to do that, right? Some of these episodes are just like, here's 5 things you should do. Boom, 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 boom. It's harder to connect through stories. But for you, stories are going to be very important and very impactful depending on what you're doing. All right, last one. A lot of people don't like this one. I think it's super valuable. Listen to your episodes. So again, our show, Next Level University, we do 7 episodes a week. So every single day, there's an opportunity for me to review our show. For you, maybe you're only doing 1 episode a week. Maybe you're guesting on 1 episode a week. Maybe you're doing a Facebook Live. Maybe you're doing an Instagram Live. Whatever it is, create the opportunity and the habit for you to listen to your own content. It doesn't make you arrogant. It doesn't make you weird. What you're doing is you're quite literally reviewing your performance. That's what you're doing. I thought it was going a certain way. Then I listened back and realized, wow, that story that I told did not connect at all. Okay, let me do better moving forward. I feel like I didn't have a lot of energy on that episode. Let me make sure I do it in the afternoon instead of in the morning, because in the morning I'm a little bit more tired, whatever it may be. Think of it this way. Professional athletes watch their footage, right? They watch the tape and they take the tape and they figure out what are the mistakes I made? How do I avoid them moving forward? You listening to your episodes is going to be something that gives you the same kind of idea. Again, I try to do it every day. Some days I miss, but I would say 80% of the time I am listening to our latest episode to figure out, okay, is the volume correct? Were my stories good? Did Alan interrupt me? Did I interrupt Alan? Whatever it may be, I'm always trying to figure out what went well and what didn't go well. And those are 6 things I would suggest you start doing today. Now, I said in the previous episode I was going to go through my habits, and I'll go through them. Again, I have 25 or 26, so I do not recommend you do everything that I do, but I will just give you an idea of what I do. All right. Every day I track our finances. So through our business, we have we've made $523,157 in the last 4 years, because I don't think we made any money in the first 2. Listens, I already said that. I track listens. We have a branding score that I track every single day. And then I weigh myself, 15 minutes of mobility, 1 NLU episode, so 1 Next Level U episode review, 30 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes of learning, track listens, post in our private Facebook group, track our finances, update all outstanding money owed. So if you owe money, I put your name on a list. That way I can connect with you and make sure that gets paid. I email the report of the downloads and the money to the chief officers in our business. I update the Next Level Podcast Solutions business model where I have prospects, social media post, and literally, here you go, 1 DM or comment to potential client, right? That was number 4 that I gave you. Follower message, Instagram or Facebook. So for a while, and I'm way behind on this, I apologize. For a while, every time somebody followed me, I would send them a video, custom video. So I want to get back on that. Text message batch, email batch, WhatsApp batch. Track your calories in a calorie tracking app. 30 minutes of filling your cup. Meditate for 5 minutes. Track your spending. 1 important task on your most important task list. Next day calendar review. Gratitude game with my wife. And then post my habits to our habit tracker. Again, most of you do not need to do most of those, but you will see that I have the track listens, the track finances, the connect with a listener, the connect with a potential client, right? Review the podcast. I'm not telling you to do things that I don't do. The reason I'm telling you to do them is because I've been doing them and I just think they're super, super valuable. So I do believe it is a valid use of your time. And I think that it will help you feel like you're making progress. I really think that's kind of the most beneficial part for us in the beginning, is to understand that we might not be making visible, concrete progress, but if we feel like we're making progress, that's important because it's going to help us to continue. And you cannot win if you stop. You cannot win if you stop. All right, so next week, I am going to do another episode on 5 more mistakes that podcasters are making. Just because since the last time I did that episode, I've probably done, I don't know, maybe 100 coaching calls. I don't know. It's been a lot. So I'm getting a lot of questions, and some of the questions are similar, but some of the questions are also things that you might not think of. So next week for episode number 28, I will do that. 5 more mistakes that podcasters are making. Again, if you are interested in a free call, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm not going to sell you on anything. I'll literally pull up the whiteboard on Zoom and we will jam on where are you, where have you been, and where do you want to be? How can I help you strategize, and what are the tactics? What are the deeper understanding? I would love to chat with you. Got some really good feedback from Nikki, a listener / person who I'm going on their show, sent me an email saying this Podcast Growth You is awesome. The episodes are short and you pack a lot of value. So Nikki, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Anytime you want to reach out with questions or comments or concerns, I am always open. You can find all of my information in the show notes. Quick 20-minute episode today. This is in the afternoon, later than I usually do these, so I feel like my energy is quite high. I'm sure I'm talking very fast, but a lot to do in a short amount of time to do it. All right. I appreciate you all. Next week, please tune in. 5 more mistakes that podcasters are making. And as always, keep on podcasting, my friends. I will talk to you next time.
Hi there, this is Dr. Taryn McCarthy, and I am the host of the Business of Happiness podcast, which would not be in existence were it not for the one and only incredible Kevin Palmieri. Seriously, I am so indebted to Kevin for the service that he provides. Every week he meets with me. He has been coaching me on how to initiate and launch this podcast. He helped me put it together with his great expertise, and every week his whole team works tirelessly to get these podcasts uploaded to Buzzsprout and to deliver my content to my audience. I am so grateful. I couldn't say enough about him. In fact, we've been working together so well. I've seen so much wonderful input from my listeners and asking me for more that in just a few weeks we're going to be doubling the number of podcasts we produce per week. So this trajectory is just flying, and I'm really enjoying the whole process. So I couldn't say enough about him. Please, if this is something you're considering, I highly recommend him, and reach out to me anytime if you have any questions about our experience. Good luck. Bye-bye.